Hello and welcome to Aspiring Women Achieving More, our Masterclass series. I could not be more excited to have my spirit animal talking with us today. And I don't say that lightly. So Erin Bradley is this master coach, and I actually have been through this goal setting type of a thing about this art of subtraction. We get so dang busy in our lives, to really feel more fulfilled, to show up as a better version of yourself. You gotta know when to subtract, right? So, Erin, take us away, my love. Tell us all the things.
Hey, awesome. Well, hi, Lauren. Hi, Alicia. Feel free to show your video if you guys can, because it's so much more fun when I feel like I'm not just talking into a blank void. And I like to see your faces. Plus, I like to have a little engagement when we do these workshops because it's really more about you than it is about me. And I'm going to start with an introduction. And before I do that, I'm going to challenge you guys with something that is, in my opinion, the hardest thing that we could ever do in our days, in our lives, and in the society and world we live in today, which is to turn off your phone, not for my sake, because I don't really care, but so that you actually get something out of this. And the reason I say that is because how many of you go to an appointment with a client or you go to the dentist and you're not on your phone? And then you either, because you can't be because the dentist is working on your mouth, or because it would be rude to do that for the client, right? We're very capable of carving out time when it's for someone else's agenda. And what I was just suggesting was the challenge that I suggest at the beginning of every workshop I ever do. And especially with this particular workshop, which I titled The Art of Subtraction for a reason. We're going to talk about things that we're going to subtract in order to add more value to our lives, to have more energy, to have a bigger impact, and to create predictable results in the growth of the business that's powering the life that we aspire to live. And I say that it's a challenge because for whatever reason, we're so comfortable checking our emails at red lights and in line for our coffee and being in social media. And in every nook and cranny, we don't allow a pause. We instead fill the space. We're very good at finding space and filling it with reactivity. And we allow our energy and our attention, and in some cases, our emotions, to be hijacked by everyone else's agenda. And so when I challenge you guys to turn off your phone and to give yourself this 1 hour and change to give you time, right? To tune in and hi, Andrea. And to give yourself this space because it's a practice. One of the things that we're going to be talking about today is the fact that, we all have obstacles and roadblocks on our way to creating transformation in any area of our life and business, our health, our finances, our business, etc. And a lot of times that the primary obstacle is you, it's us. So I refer to it as a you block, like you're your own you block, you and your reactivity and your overconnectedness, overcommitted, and saying yes to things you think you should say yes to because you don't want to let somebody down, and running at a breakneck pace and juggling all the balls is creating the block to that light and that energy and that impact that you feel called to put out in the world. So without any pause, without unplugging, we can't tune in to that light within us, which we're going to talk about today. We can't tune into what our heart knows we want and need and figure out the next right step because we're simply on the hamster wheel of going. And practicing giving yourself a pause is one of the key components and one of the first steps to creating any level of transformation. Most people think that the more I do, the more boxes I check, the more productive I feel, the better I'm going to be. And I would wager that reactivity, this overconnectedness, this always looking at our phone and every opportunity we get, subconsciously, unconsciously, without even thinking, we're just doing it. That reactivity is laziness disguised as busyness. And busyness does not always translate to business. So when you get to the end of a day and you're still on your phone and you're collapsed and you're energetically low and you feel deflated and depleted, chances are it's because you're doing too much, which is why I focus so much on the art of subtraction and how that impacts the light within us and how the light within us radiates to attract the kinds of relationships and opportunities into our life and business that create the joyful life that we're longing to have. So that's the big challenge. if I give you guys a pause to work on something, don't use that pause to just check, because you don't even do it on purpose. You just do it, right? And so we're going to talk today about how you start your day and how this overconnectedness is really derailing you energetically and holding us back from incredible opportunity and transformation in our lives. And if you can practice that, protecting that time for yourself and learn to make that an important part of every single day, you will find that light turn on. You will find yourself attracting more than you could ever imagine, with more ease and more fun. So with that being said, the last bit about this whole phone thing, because you can tell I'm a little bit passionate about this, is that, you know, when you're on your way to, you have an appointment today with somebody, and you would never cancel on that appointment, not without a good reason or because you're sick. Why? Because you care, because you're a servant-hearted person, because we're people pleasers, because we worry about what people would think of us and we don't want to let somebody down. So we would never cancel on an appointment just arbitrarily because we're not in the mood. Well, don't cancel on yourself. Chances are you're here because you're working on being the best version of yourself you can possibly be, and carving out time for you that's unscripted and unstructured to tune in and to quiet down and to stop doing and focus on who you want to be instead is going to be step one. So when you find yourself in that default mode of just checking because it's what you always do, you're canceling on yourself, canceling on your ability to get in tune with that next right step. Okay. All right. So that's it. I'm going to jump right in here. We got about 35 minutes and then we'll have some Q&A. And what I want to share today is 3 simple steps to help you simplify success as you define it. And I'm kind of nerding out here a little bit on this rhyme that I came up with to make your dreams come true in 2022. Oh yeah, drop the mic. I said it accidentally the other day. I was like, if you want to make your dreams come true in 2022. And then I was like, you see what I did there? That was awesome. Okay, so a little backstory on me is that my name's Erin Bradley, and Pursuing Freedom is the name of a book that I published in 2016, which outlines a strategy that I have been teaching in a workshop for many years and helps you build your business by referral in a way that feels easy, authentic, and fun. So it's literally pursuing freedom, be yourself, increase your referrals, and have more fun growing your business. And then it evolved into me starting a podcast in the real estate space, primarily focused on interviewing real estate agents that are selling and then folks that provide value to the real estate community. Not so much in the investing side as Mandy, although I am an investor, but what I focus on is helping people build a business that is well organized to support the lifestyle vision they had when they started. And the motto is that the goal is to build a life you don't need a vacation from. Now, the reason I'm passionate about this, I'll share a little story, is this is a photo from a long time ago. And I say the backstory is from broke to burnout. And I don't know, but I'm going to ask you guys, like, share in the chat if you feel like you need to say, like, heck yeah, I've been there before, because I'd love to hear from you guys. But when I went 100% commission in the mortgage industry in 2007, I did so in pursuit of this idea of freedom and flexibility, self-employment, not having a boss tell me where to be and when to be and what to do. And I did so absolutely terrified of sales. Still don't really love the word sales. Don't really love traditional sales strategies. And frankly, I had no systems in place. I had no game plan. I also had no safety net, no savings account, nothing. I had come from teaching English in Barcelona for a whopping $900 a month and selling beers on street corners in Spain to get rent money. So I had nothing. And I just thought freedom and flexibility sounds great to me. So I went 100% commission. And a year later, I was promptly $35,000 in credit card debt, maxed on all my credit cards, had a referral for a client, and I had to ride my bike across town in the heat of summer because I didn't have enough money for gas. And my credit card was declined for my $2 cup of coffee. That's literally how rock bottom I was. And I really didn't like the sales strategy. I didn't like, I was worried about what people would think of me. Well, fast forward to 2009, I start hiring coaches. I start reading books. I'm going to seminars, and I'm like, I refuse to give up out of desperation, basically. And so finally in 2011, I came up with a strategy that ultimately became the content of the book. And I started teaching it to others and realizing I wasn't alone. I was passionate about providing a great level of service. I was passionate about my craft, like so many of us are, but I hated the challenge of bridging the gap between the service I want to provide and then getting my message out there and feeling salesy. What I mean by that is that so many people are passionate about their craft, but they aren't necessarily natural born salespeople. And so there's a struggle to get the message out there. And so I became very passionate about helping people get their business off the ground in a way that feels easy, fun, and authentic. And the next year, when this photo was taken, I had more than doubled my business and the money was great and I was miserable. So what I want to know in the chat is a yes, if you can relate to this, or a no, if not. And what I want to know is, have you ever had a very successful time in your life where you felt completely overwhelmed, exhausted, burned out, and like you were running at a breakneck pace and the money is good, so you convince yourself it's fine. So you tell yourself to be grateful. And how lucky are you? And so we accept this pace as the trade-off for success. And if you came from a place of desperation like me, then you become very adept at digging deep to access the spark within, to put on the game face, to show up at work because you've worked your freaking ass off to get here and you've sacrificed and you've cried yourself to sleep wondering if you're ever going to succeed. And then it comes in and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so lucky, but I'm exhausted and I don't know where to go from here. And this is why we focus on the art of subtraction. And the interesting thing about this is that photo where I was taken at this time in my life where I was suffering. I wouldn't say I was miserable, but I was suffering. I was working 24/7. And the women that I worked with at the time who were doing more business than me and had slightly older kids, they were telling me that they admitted to going back into their home office every night and working until 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. So I'm curious, have you ever found yourself still working at 10 o'clock at night, putting yourself to sleep with your laptop or your phone? If so, just put a yes in the chat. Here's the thing about it. The money was great. It felt great. I was so lucky. I was so grateful. I was suffering. And guess what? I was still paralyzed with fear. I had a whole new set of fears. Fear of hiring someone and fear of them messing up what I've built. Fear of losing what I've built. Fear of letting somebody down because they expect it to be me. And in my service heart, like all of you have, your big hearts to serve and love, I was sacrificing far too much of my energy, and my enthusiasm was beginning to wane as I tried to juggle all the balls and be for all the people. And what do you think my son and my husband got? They got the leftovers, the deflated, low energy version of me, which is not the person I want to bring into the lives of the people I care about, not in business and not in life. But because so many of us are women, right? We're all women here. We have become very good at it. We are so good at it. We're so good at doing too much. And so we just go through life like that. Just, it's fine. I'll just get through this and then things will get better. And I'm like, no, it shouldn't be fine. It should be freaking awesome. So we're going to figure out how to make it freaking awesome. And we're going to dig right in. So somebody just tried to come into the office. So here I was pregnant with number 2, looking forward to maternity leave, like some kind of sick vacation. And just like done. I mean, I was starting to sell multi-level marketing. I'm like, I'm going to quit the mortgage business. This is not for me, but I didn't, thank God. So through the podcast, what ended up happening was back then in 2012, I survived my success for a few more years until 2014, when I finally started scaling my business and I started hiring people. And as I did so, I started subtracting a lot and doing less, and then finding myself able to accomplish more with less effort, more enthusiasm, more energy. And so what I've discovered through the podcast and through my coaching and the mastermind groups and everything else is that the most successful people who are also happy, and that's the key. It's not success in exchange for happiness, and it's not playing small and shrinking your goals to get your happiness back, okay? You're meant for more. You're meant for unlimited expansion and impact, and you're meant to be happy. You're meant to have your light shining bright. So what they've figured out is they figured out what the heck they want. They figured out what they're willing to do to get it. And they figured out what they're unwilling to do, which is almost more important, the art of subtraction. And by the way, they do so without guilt, apology, or excuses, but not without fear. And I think this is really important for two reasons. Number one, be careful of who you're admiring, assuming that they're not still experiencing their new set of fears, or that you need to wait until your fears go away before you're willing to change your life and take action, because your fear will not go away. You do not wake up camera ready one day and say, today is the day. You simply decide that you're going to change the trajectory of your life today. And there was in the Miracle Morning The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, I think was the book that said, where you are is a result of who you've been, but where you go depends entirely on who you choose to be starting today. And the key is in that choice. There's power in the choice. It doesn't matter where you were a year ago, and it doesn't matter where you are today, but it is up to you and nobody else to take the wheel of you. And that's what I want to dig into today. Now, in terms of figuring out what they want, I'm going to be sharing something at the end of the workshop that Mandy said I could share. And I have a coupon code for you guys and everything, but I developed an online program of a workshop I've been teaching for about a decade to help people tune in to what you really want. How do you figure out what you want in spite of what you've had, or in spite of what you think is realistic or probable, or in spite of the perceived sacrifice of your time and energy? What the heck do you really want? And how are you going to get there? So that's an online program called Balanced Growth, which I'll talk about at the end. But the thing is, guys, that first you have to tune in to hear. And in this process of figuring out what you want, one of the biggest challenges is turning down the volume of what's going on up here. Because so many of us can say, it would be amazing to, ... In my dream life, I would, ... But what? Our butt is getting in the way of our taking the first step towards our incredible life. So don't let your butt get in the way of what your heart knows you want and need. If your heart is saying, it would be so amazing too, or I wish I could, or worse, it must be nice, seeing somebody else's life and thinking it must be nice. The only difference between you and the person living the life that you want is that they've made a decision to do it. They've tried, they've failed, they fall on their face, they get back up again, and they fall again, and they just keep going. They made a choice. So where do you want to go from here? And if it's just the butt in your brain that's holding you back from letting yourself hear what's going on in here, there is work that needs to be done to unlock that. Each and every person you know has a light within you, okay? And what I want you guys to think about is when you're shooting all over yourself, when you think to yourself, I should do this because that's what so-and-so is doing, or that's what's working for him or her, or I should do this because that's what's realistic based on what I've done before. I'd really love to blah, 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 but how could I ever? I could never. And that seems like too much work. All that chatter in the brain is pushing on the dimmer switch within us. So we're walking around with the low light, just muscling through the days. However, there's another version of you, the version of you that laughs, that gets excited, that has a blast having time with loved ones or doing certain hobbies or making an impact and making a contribution in the lives and hearts of others, right? That's when your light is shining bright. And what we need to figure out is how do we get control of the dimmer switch within us? And what I can tell you is that this, rolling over in the morning and finding yourself in your inbox and your social media rabbit hole and your text messages before your feet have hit the ground, is the biggest threat you've got to that light within you. Because before your feet have even hit the ground, you've given away your light. You've allowed your energy and emotion and attention to be hijacked by other people's agendas, and you're allowing that reactivity to drive your day. And that's why I say that reactivity is laziness disguised as busyness, and busyness doesn't always translate to business. The truth of the matter is you can do so much less effort, less output, less hours logged, with more energy and enthusiasm to create a magnetism to attract much more abundance than you could ever imagine possible if you're willing to recognize what's going on in here. if you're having a hard time tuning out this chatter up here, all the limiting beliefs, to hear what your heart knows you want and need and deserve, then this is where we need to focus, okay? So that's what we're gonna do with these next few slides. So successful and happy people have focus, energy, and get easy results because they have boundaries. And we're gonna talk about how to put boundaries in place. Minor boundaries, don't worry. I'm not gonna try to schedule you to the tilt, but I am gonna teach you how to put a couple simple rules in place so that you can access the light within you, so that you can make the best and biggest impact you possibly can in whatever area of life you need to focus yourself. So the 3 steps we're gonna cover today to create predictable growth and enjoy success in 2022. Did I change that? Or is that? Nope, I didn't change that. That's okay. You got it. You know what I'm talking about. Making our dreams come true, 2022, it's happening. So 3 steps. Number 1 is start your day bright. And we're going to talk about what that means. Number 2 is the not to-do list, the art of subtraction here. And then number 3 is when. Okay, when are you going to do what you allow on your to-do list? And what are you not going to do first and foremost? So let's talk about starting our day bright for a minute. And we'll come to that next, actually. So I'm a big fan of the Miracle Morning. If you guys could share in the chat or raise your hand if you read any of the Miracle Morning series. Is anybody? Mandy, Kelly, Andrea, Alicia, Adela? All right, awesome. So then you guys know what I'm talking about. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. But what I can tell you is that since reading that book in 2015, I feel like I've experienced nothing short of miraculous in my life, in my business, in my team, in my relationship with my kids, in my health, because I stopped allowing myself to be given away to my agenda, to other people's agendas or my to-dos before I work on that light within me. What I mean by that is, have you ever woken up? Okay, let's just say, maybe we'll just shake our head no, or nod yes. Do you wake up every single morning feeling sunshine and rainbows, ready to crush life, and you have the highest energy in your whole life, and you're so happy and you can't wait to just live the best life all the day, every day? We don't all wake up that way. We don't, okay? It would be awesome if we did, but we don't all wake up that way. I'm gonna stop my share for a second. Because what I wanna tell you is that we wake up, like just put your hand in the air if you've ever woken up and you're exhausted. And maybe you're frustrated about something, or maybe you're anxious about something, or worried, or stressed, or overwhelmed. And so our default, and I really believe this is so much, even more strongly with women than anyone else, our default is to go and serve the rest of the world first. Our default is if we're moms, it's our children. If we're dog moms, it's our dog. It's go and do, it's go and serve, go and give right away. And it's my default too. I'm a fast-paced, high energy, like crazy person. So when I wake up in the morning, my default is like all the things I have to do today and I got to get going and do them. And then it's like, oh my God, look at all these alerts in my inbox. Oh my God, I got to check all those. And oh no, I got to respond to those. Like that's my default, is to get up and go. And it is hard work to get up and pause. And so if you have not read The Miracle Morning, any of their series, I would recommend it just because it gives you a step-by-step process to implementing a morning routine. But the one thing I will tell you, especially as a woman, a mom, a wife, etc., is that I actually don't think it matters what time of day you wake up, but I do think it matters how you start your day. So personally, I'm not going to operate on 5 hours of sleep because I didn't get to sleep late last night or whatever. I'm going to sleep because I believe in rest. And if I didn't get to bed until 10 and I didn't have a great night of sleep, I might not be up at 5:30 that day. I might be up at 6:30 or 7. It doesn't matter. The point is that when I get up, there's a routine to how I start my day to turn the light on. So I might be exhausted and I might be stressed, or I might be wherever low light version of me that I might be in. And the first thing I do is just pause. I pour my coffee and I pause. I stare into blank space and I drink some coffee and I start to wake up a little bit. And then I do a 10-minute guided meditation. And in doing so, I start to feel my nervous system calming a little bit. And then I brain dump journal into my notebook. And that brain dump could be anything that's on my mind. It could be what I'm stressed about. It could be my my brain being overwhelmed with my to-dos for the day. It could be my hopes and dreams. Whatever, I need to clear my brain. So I need to download everything that's up here, because our brains are meant for computing. They're not meant for storage. So when you're walking around with this brain of yours operating like a storage facility, you're pushing on the dimmer of the light, okay? Making everything feel a little bit more like a grind. So we need to get that out so that we can process what's the next right step. Then focus on the goals. Either have one tangible affirmation that you write over and over and over again, some specific goal that you can't wait to accomplish. I love earning X. I love closing X number of transactions per month. I love feeling strong. I love whatever it is, okay? Whatever you're working on, health, relationships, spirituality, writing it over and over and again, what happens is it awakens the reticular activating system. Show of hands, has anyone not heard of the reticular activating system? Your RAS. Everybody knows what that is. Okay, so you know what it is. It's when you see like the car you're gonna buy, all of a sudden you see it everywhere because you've awakened a part of your brain that is always there, but it's sometimes asleep to certain opportunities, ideas, faces, names, etc. So when you start saying, I love experiencing this transformation that I'm creating in my life in some version over and over and over again, or maybe you just read your goals every single morning, by putting that attention on it, you're awakening, much like when you decide to buy that car, all of a sudden you bump into somebody, seems pretty random. That's not random. That person was always there. You just woke up to the opportunity for how this person could be the next right step or help you move the needle, or maybe you're helping them move the needle and that lights you up because you're making an impact. And then that helps snowball into more and more positive vibration that you're creating in your world. And that brings people in. Like a lighthouse in the storm, the ships will come into port when your light is shining bright 360 degrees. Okay, so now I'm like getting creative. Okay, and I might be 20 minutes into this process, 10 minutes of meditation, 5 to 10 minutes of brain dump. Now I'm focused on my goals. I'm writing my affirmations. I'm getting new ideas randomly coming to mind, people I should reach out to. And then I might read 10 pages of something that motivates me, inspires me, and gets me excited. By the time I'm done that process, my light is on. Like I'm fired up. Not only did I mitigate my stress by focusing on what I'm grateful for, which I also do in my journaling, and by giving my brain a chance to wake up naturally without technology, but I've started to find that creativity, the problem solving, the new ideas. I call this my me block. And you might need to baby step this into your life with like one me block per week, where you give yourself, I suggest a 3-hour me block once a week, okay? A 3-hour me block that's not scheduled, no appointments, no calls, and no interruptions. If that feels overwhelming, start with a 2-hour me block. And what I want you to think about is if you were with a client and you had your phone turned off, or maybe like I'm leading this workshop, I can't possibly be checking my texts and emails because I'm in it, I'm here, right? But I don't feel guilty about it because I have a commitment to you guys. I don't feel I need to apologize to whatever text message I haven't answered yet or whatever call I missed. And I don't think I need to make excuses about it, right? We never feel guilty when we're serving others. Don't feel guilty about taking care of you, because you will make a bigger, brighter impact on the world and have more fun if you give yourself time to get that light turned on. So if you need a baby step into 30 minutes every morning, just before you open your inbox, it could be after you take kids to school, after you walk the dog, after you empty the dishwasher and make the kitchen feel clean. It doesn't really matter. Whatever you need to do, but give yourself a me block. And over time, you'll find the value in doing so, and you can stretch them out to be a little bit longer. So now my me blocks are 2 hours a day, and I don't miss a thing. No fires, nothing's falling apart. Because if I was with a client, I wouldn't feel the need to apologize or feel guilty. So turn that pride or that guilt within you when you feel like compelled to just make sure you're not missing something, that anxious feeling or that guilt that you might have, turn that into pride, because you're taking the wheel of you, and you should be proud of yourself for that. Because when you take the wheel of you, the impact you can make on the lives of everybody else you care about is so much more profound. Okay, so let me go back to sharing my screen. So that's step one, start your day bright. All right. I expanded this to see all your pretty faces, and now I can't see it. Okay, so this is one of my favorite quotes. And it's from a book. I don't know. I didn't write the title of the book, but it's profane. So it's profanity. I don't know if anyone's ever read the book Unfuck Yourself, but I did not write the name of the book. And it's actually a really good book because it helps you go through. Each chapter is like a different affirmation of an area of your life that you need to kind of reprogram, is a nicer way of saying it. So anyway, he says here, I love it. There's nothing inherently wrong with working long hours and sacrificing your quality of life. And some people might be perfectly content to doing so in order to make the income. But so many of us have forgotten why we are pursuing what we are pursuing in the first place. And I love this because at any stage of business or life that you guys might be in, we tend to have this, tendency to go and do and go and do and go and do. And even when we're in like growth mode, where maybe we don't have a lot of commitments today. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like there's times where I get done what I intended to do today. And then I used to question if I've done enough. Like I feel guilty if I'm not doing more. Like there's always more I could be doing. And so there's this feeling of challenge as it relates to shutting off. And maybe not everybody has wrestles with that. But what I found is that if you're in a growth mode of your business and you've never set simple rules in your schedule or boundaries or created a not to do list, then you'll find yourself doing a lot under the illusion that that busyness is going to result in business, and also because of your fear of not doing enough to get to where you're trying to go. However, when the business comes in and you find success, because you didn't have a well-designed foundation for your schedule as a self-employed person, then all of a sudden you're overwhelmed by the demands that you simply have to keep up with within the business that you've built. And now it's even harder than ever to think that you could possibly carve out a me block or to possibly shut off your phone at a certain time of day to be with your family or whatever the case is. So I think it's interesting that this applies to not just the highly successful, overwhelmed and burning out person, but the person who's trying to grow and is feeling hungry. And we find ourselves working long hours and sacrificing our quality of life. And some people might be perfectly content doing so. But what he's trying to say here, and what I often ask people is, how does your current reality match the vision you had when you started? What is the vision? Did you have a vision? Or did you make a pivot into a new line of work and find yourself on a hamster wheel because you just haven't figured out a different way to do it? Okay. I'm just curious from the chat, how many of you are business owners, self-employed? You just write me if you are. And if you're not self-employed, are you aspiring to be? See what I did there? Aspiring women achieving more.
Nailed it.
Okay. So some of you W-2 employees then? Okay. Okay. So is one of the challenges for those of you that have a W-2, is it that you're trying to create something else in your life and you're having to maybe moonlight it on the outside of your other working hours? Okay, awesome. So I think that as that quote relates, is that sometimes when you're in that transitional phase and you're feeling this longing to leap and you're sensing that you might be meant for something different or something more, then you might find yourself working those long hours because you're juggling those two different things. However, this strategy that we're going to cover here in a minute is still applicable as it relates to when, okay? Because especially if you have a side hustle that you want to make a full-time thing, like Mandy built a healthy enough income to be able to quit her W-2 job, which was beautiful. She probably had to have sprints of imbalance, and that's natural. But then she finally gets to the place where she can quit her W-2. And now there's all this space, and our default mechanism, our default mode is to fill that space. Like space becomes uncomfortable. And so that it's super important, if you've made that leap like Mandy has, that you're really working on the vision for your life and how this business is going to power that life. And what does life look like now that there's no W-2? Okay. What is life? What were you seeking when you started? Because it is so easy to stay overcommitted and overconnected even after we've been given the gift of time freedom, because it can be uncomfortable. Okay. Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing. So the not to-do list is, it all starts with tracking. So I'm going to share a little resource that a lot of these resources that I share are embedded in that online program, and we're going to like glaze over them, but it's definitely more of a deep dive through the online course. And it includes a 1-hour strategy call with me when it's over to make sure that you are clear on where you're going and that you feel you have a game plan to get there. And the whole purpose is to simplify your efforts with more energy and enthusiasm to create your results with more ease and more joy and more fun, so that you can live that bright light, that life that you want to live. So we're going to look into how do you track your time for awareness to come up with your what not to do list. Okay. And then how do we decide what to do and when? And, you know, I have here that schedule is freedom. And it's funny because when you become free of a W-2 job and the clock in, clock out, it feels like freedom at first. And then we have so much white space in our calendar and we are so adept at filling it that we've never had any rules for what we're doing and when. And it's up to us, if you're a business owner, to create that schedule and to write those rules. And when I was early on in my journey, I thought that having a schedule and having rules was suffocating because I wanted freedom. What I found out after the fact, when I finally, many years later, implemented some simple rules and schedule into my life and business, is that I actually have way more freedom, because when I'm focused in the time that I've carved out to do the things I need to do to move the needle, it's so simple and so measurable that when I've completed that block of time, I am now actually free to go mountain biking or to go skiing or to meet a friend for a glass of wine or whatever I feel like doing that day. And I don't have to ask myself, did I do enough? Because I had a plan for what I was supposed to do today and I've already done it. So now I'm free. So simplicity plus consistency is what gets you the results. All right, so let's see here. Thanks, Kelly. All right. Why is it not? All right, so here's what we do. You guys, you can do this in your journal, notebook, wherever. But the first thing I do is I find out, what did I do last week? What did I do last month? So what have you been allowing on your calendar and your schedule? And it's real simple. You just go back through your journal, your planner, your phone, and you look at your commitments and you look at the boxes that got checked and the boxes that didn't get checked. And you evaluate, what are you allowing into your life? What meetings, what relationships, what tasks and responsibilities, and get awareness. So the time tracker starts with what have you been doing, okay? And you can see here that that's just an example of one I did a long time ago. And it was like morning routine, breakfast, emails, worked out, lunch, check social media, emails, client meeting, happy hour with friend, dinner, social media, emails, sleep. So what didn't get done? How much of what I did was proactive and reactive? How many calls and notes and face-to-face did I do? What was my goal? What was my actual? You know, how many referrals did I get? And again, this is like unique to my business, but the crazy thing is, look at that. Emails, worked out, lunch, checked social, emails, client meeting, happy hour with a friend, dinner, social media, emails. That's hours and hours spent checking emails and on social media. Was any of that actually moving the needle in my life and business? I don't know, but I allow that to happen. And we're definitely not seeking perfection here, you guys. This is progress over perfection. So what we need to do once we've evaluated what we have been doing is we need to go through, and what I typically do is I either draw a line through it or I put a check mark next to anything I've allowed on my calendar or in my life that doesn't fire me up, that isn't a heck yeah. Anything that's like a, ugh, I still have to ... Or like, I notice myself having an unchecked box that moves from one day to the next to the next. And sometimes it's as simple as making a doctor's appointment. I suck at making myself a dentist appointment. Like, I have to have somebody do it for me because it's not going to get done. I just keep moving it. So these things that I find myself just not doing with any level of consistency, or I'm dreading them, they need to be evaluated, because when you're allowing yourself to do those things and they're energy draining and they're creating procrastination or dread, they're pushing on the light, on the dimmer light. And then when it comes to do those high value things, those high dollar producing activities, you're either not in the mood or you're falling flat, and you'll still get results being the low light version of you. You will. If you like muscle through and you hustle and you check boxes and you cross T's and dot I's, you will still get results. Don't get me wrong, but you'll just be exhausted. It's a different kind of life. It's a different kind of energy all around, and it's harder, and it should be easier and more fun and more light. Okay. So when I evaluate all the things I did that drained my energy, it makes sense why I feel so deflated. Those are the things I'm going to figure out. I'm either going to eliminate altogether if it's just distraction, like being on social and I'm not doing it proactively, or I'm going to delegate if it's like making me, like setting my appointments for me. I could have somebody else do that for me, or I'm going to batch. Some things have to be done. They have to be done by you, and they frankly drain you energetically. You've got to do it. So you got to batch those things. So this is where we decide when. Okay. So this slide here says decision-making is energy draining. Have any of you ever woken up in the morning, or, you know, if you have a W-2 job, you like go to work and then you get home and you have this goal, you want to buy your first rental property, or you want to buy that commercial property, you want to learn something, you want to take that online course, you want to do that workshop, whatever. And you ask yourself, what should I do? What should I do today? What could I do today? I imagine Mandy went through this when she first became liberated, because it's like, well, now what? What do I do today? Well, the process of making decisions actually dims your light. If you're asking yourself, what could I do today? What should I do? Because I never had a plan and I didn't decide when, and I didn't decide what not to do, I will find myself in that reactivity, which is laziness disguised as busyness. I will find myself in my emails. I will find myself in social media, because I didn't make a decision about what happens on Monday at this time and what happens on Tuesday at this time. And this is not about scheduling every hour of your day. But if you want to get through, like I bought Amy Porterfield's workshop so that I could learn how to create my own digital course. And then I never opened it for 6 months because I didn't decide when I was going to work on that project. But when I wrote a book, I had a plan. I worked on it every Friday morning until it was done, from around 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., 3 hours a week until it was done. It took me 6 months. That was a good example of when. When are you going to do what you're going to do to make that goal become a reality? So when you make a decision, for example, your morning routine becomes a routine because you've decided to do it. You don't wake up in the morning and think, should I do that today? You just get up and do it. When you brush your teeth and pour a cup of coffee, if you're a coffee drinker, you don't have to think about the fact that you're doing it. You're not making a conscious decision to brush your teeth and pour a cup of coffee. Therefore, it doesn't take anything out of you. When you drive to the grocery store, you don't think to yourself, going to the same grocery store you go to every time you go to the grocery store, should I take a left here or should I take a right? You go on autopilot, right? So if we can create decisions about how to spend our time, things become easier. Things become less energy draining because we're not making decisions left and right all day, every day. Okay. So you can accomplish more with less effort when you make decisions once. You can constantly reevaluate, you should, to figure out what works for you, because you're evolving as a human. What mattered to you 3 years ago is different than what matters to you today. It's going to be different in a year, but you have to write the rules. No one's going to write the rules for you. And if you never write the rules, we know what happens, right? So how to simplify your success with 4 metrics. The simple one-page plan, the time tracker, all that stuff that's in the course, it's basically letting you figure out, how do you figure out what you want, what you're willing to do, what you're unwilling to do, which means either we eliminate, we delegate, or we batch, when you're going to do it. How do you measure it and make your results predictable and simple? It's all about simplifying. I don't think we have time for this, but I just wanted to share that using an experiment on this in 2019 of doing less with hyper focus and when, I literally was able to take my closings from 3 a month to 9 a month to 12 a month to 17 a month in a 4-month span while working a few hours a week and skiing 75 days that winter. I live in a ski town. So we don't need to dig into that, but it was an experiment, and that's all I'm asking you guys to do. If anything I shared with you today felt new or foreign, but enticing, then you just experiment with it without being hard on yourself when you don't nail it every single time, but be curious. Be curious about how you feel at the end of the day when you put some simple metrics in place, when you had a little game plan for what you were going to do and when, and check your energy at the end of the day and see if it's different than the day when you allowed yourself to get on the hamster wheel and sprint throughout the day, okay? So the last thing is when. So we had the time tracker, which was like Hot Mess Express, and now you've got this simplified schedule that I was using and created crazy transformation, but it's just, you got the wake up time, and then you see where it says, look at the database, pick people to call. This is an older thing because now I have a longer me time, but that's from Atomic Habits with habit stacking. Like if you're in a sales role and you know that you need to look at your database to figure out like who you want to call today or whatever, for me, it's as simple as opening the database, looking for the names of people that bring a smile to my face and realizing I've been so out of touch with that person. And like if Lisa and I had worked together once before and we totally hit it off and had an awesome time, and now it's like 6 months later and I look at my database, I see Lisa, I'm like, oh my God, I have not talked to Lisa since she closed. Like I need to call her. It's been so long and I'm just calling to check in because like I freaking loved working with you. And like your light is my light and my light is your light. And then I feel so excited that I got to catch up with Lisa that now I can call Mandy and I can bring whatever energy I picked up from Lisa and I can radiate that on Mandy, and that might brighten her day and she brightens mine. And next thing I know, I'm in flow, but I can't get there when I'm thinking and decision making my day, thinking, who should I call today? Who could I call today? What's happening? My light's going down because I'm in decision-making mode because I didn't make a simple rule, which is look at the database, just open the database. Once I do that, there's a world of amazing humans there that I'm like, oh my God, then it changes everything. So that I had to stack that habit behind something I was already doing on autopilot. So it could be you brush your teeth, you pour your coffee, and now you meditate because you never meditated before. Maybe it's you brush your teeth, you pour a glass of water, and then you open a book and start reading because you never had a routine to read in the morning. So you want to implement this new habit, you stack it behind something that you do without thinking, it becomes a habit much more easily. So then you can see I had like checking calls, blocks, but what is also interesting here is if you look from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., it says white space for reactive, inbox, social media, impromptu showings, return calls, finish notes, event planning, etc. I block my reactive time. That means I couldn't take appointments during that time, which means that if, Lisa called me and was like, I would love to grab a cup of coffee or get together, I look at my calendar, and because that window is blocked for reactivity, I don't take appointments, okay? Because if I did, my calendar becomes a scattered hot mess, and then I'm filling the gaps between with reactivity and not proactivity. So just simple rules. Like realtors, are there any realtors on this call? Andrea. So a perfect example is that, let's say you would like to have a boundary in place that you don't show property after noon on Saturday and not after 6 p.m. on Friday, for example. We'll just make that a made up rule. And on Thursday, a brand new house comes on the market. Everything's moving fast. Inventory is moving fast. Somebody wants to see the property, and you look at your calendar and you don't have anything going on tomorrow night. And you say, when do you want to see it? And they say 7 o'clock. And you say, yes, you've just given away the time you wanted to protect. But if you were to say to them, it looks like I'm tied up tomorrow until 2, but I'm open from 2 to 6 tomorrow. And I've got all morning before noon on Saturday, before my afternoon gets away from me. And you lead with your boundaries, not with a negative, just with your availability, much like a doctor does. 9 times out of 10, they will fit into that availability because they want to see this house. but we have a story that we need to make ourselves available to everybody else to better serve them. When in truth, when we operate from that method, we're actually allowing our light to be diminished and extinguished, which is affecting our ability to serve at the highest level. When you guys put boundaries in place like this, your ROI of energy and enthusiasm is immeasurable. It's intangible, but it's super powerful. So lead with those boundaries. So write a few simple rules. And if, for example, one of my rules now is that mornings are for me. I don't take appointments before 11 a.m. It's just a simple rule. That means if Alicia wanted to get me for coffee, I would be like, oh my God, I am so booked out like crazy the next couple of weeks, but could you grab lunch perhaps? Or could we catch up in the afternoon? It looks like I'm free on Tuesday afternoon and Thursday afternoon. There's another rule I had one time that all my meetings, in-person meetings, were always on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, I was in the field from 7:30 a.m. with breakfast meetings all the way through coffee to lunch to coffee to happy hour to dinner. All my meetings were Tuesday, Thursday. That left me Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the office for paperwork or reactivity and all the other stuff that needs to get done. Simple rules, but that means that when Andrea wants to grab a lunch with me, I look at my calendar next week and I'm looking at Tuesday and Thursday because I made that rule. You see how like it reduces the decision making and it reduces the shoulding. Like, well, I should just try to get with her when she can get with me. And it's all these things that we do that push on that dimmer and the light within. So when we create some simple rules and we lead with those boundaries, you're still allowed to make exceptions to the rule if you need to. If Andrea really needed to show that property and the client could only get there at 6:30, you can choose to make an exception if they're the right fit client. But if you never wrote the rules, then it just becomes hamster wheel life. And that's what it is. Okay. All right. This is just a little bit about that program I was telling you guys about. So what it is it's a bunch of downloadable tools that you literally work through, and reflection, visioning, goal setting, action planning, boundaries, and you get clear on what you want, figure out what you enjoy, what you're willing to do, and then you figure out what you're going to subtract so that you can finally organize the business in such a way that it's a conduit to powering your awesome life. It's not like your business, someone once said, it might even have been the same guy, John Gary Bishop. Your business isn't supposed to be a whale in a bathtub and you fit your life in around the edges, okay? Your life is what you've got, one precious life here to live, and your light should be on bright and shining bright and making an impact in the lives of the people you care about in every area of your life. And your business should be well organized to power that vision, okay? But it's up to you to write the rules. Nobody can do it for you. So, all right, any questions, feedback, etc. Oh, I forgot to share. I'm offering you guys a $200 discount off the course, which I think is $997 on the website, pursuingfreedom.com/course. So it's $200 off with the coupon code WIN2022. Make your dreams come true in 2022. And I'll show you what it looks like when you're done. You end up with a simple one-page plan, which fits inside of my planner because I'm a nerd, and I print it and then I laminate it and it becomes my bookmark. And this simple one-page plan has my top 10 goals. And from my top 10 are my banner 3 goals. The 3 words I use to anchor me and keep me on course when I start to get derailed. A loose schedule of what I do on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. And for the record, it says Fridays are for reflection, vision, planning, and Fridays are for fun, family, and friends. Okay. And then I have the rocks in my schedule. What do I commit to daily, weekly, and monthly in order to know that I'm moving the needle towards those big goals? Okay. So this is kind of like the outcome of that online program. And everything you write down comes true. It doesn't matter how long it takes to accomplish your goals. The time is passing anyway. You might as well dream big and make a decision to go for it, because why? Well, if not now, when, right? Okay, I hope this was helpful. Any questions, any feedback?
I love everything about it. Here, let's stop sharing screen. Let's 1 second.
Okay.
And then we'll just see everybody's faces here for a minute.
There we go.
Question about the words that you have that anchor you. How frequently do you change those? Is that an annual thing, or once you feel like you embody something, you sub out a word?
Okay, so I will tell you that the process that is outlined in that course is something that I work through at a minimum twice a year. In 2020, I did it 3 different times because I had set all the vision for 2020 and then March happened and I had to reevaluate everything because this is lifestyle and business design, you guys. This is not a business plan. It's not your traditional business plan. It has business goals, but it also has a month in Costa Rica, 12 overnight dates with my husband, income goals from my real estate portfolio, 4 to 6 weeks of beach vacation, so this is not just about how much money you're going to make or what you're going to do for a career. Why do you want to make that money? What kind of life are you building? What kind of experiences do you want to have? So you can see I've crossed things out here and rewritten them because I've either accomplished those goals or I've went through the process again and reevaluated. Sometimes we think our goals into existence based on, we like all muddied up with our limiting beliefs on what we think we could do or we should do or what's realistic or what's probable. And that's all playing small. Our heart knows that we are meant for so much more. And sometimes I recognize that these goals aren't real, meaning that they mean nothing to me in here. So what I mean by that is I tell people that we talked about this. I learned something many, many years ago about your relationship with money being tangible versus intangible. Intangible is where you have an emotional relationship with money. So when the income is coming in and your bank account is increasing, your savings are increasing, your net worth, you genuinely feel stronger, happier, more powerful, right? And when you're intangible, you feel like money is a means to an end. I could always make more money. If I make X, I'd be good with that. And sometimes it's laden with limiting beliefs and a low money mindset because it's I only need so much to get by. Well, guess what? You don't want to get by. You want to make a big impact in the world. So you don't want to play small. But the reason I share this is because your goals and the reflection process that leads us to identifying what's going on in here, your goals should be anchored based on what's true for you. So if you're genuinely someone who has a tangible relationship with money and you feel safer, stronger, happier when you've got money coming in, your goals should be anchored in the financial because it's emotional and it will motivate you to take action. If you're someone for whom money is intangible, your goals should be anchored in the experiences the money will afford you. The month-long vacation, the safari in Africa, whatever. But you need to know your numbers. So you need to know your numbers to power that life. But that means that sometimes I have to reevaluate my goals because I might put an income goal down and it just does nothing to wake me up. It's because for me, money is a byproduct of the experiences I want to have. Well, it powers the experiences, but it's the byproduct of the life I want to live. Okay.
Oh, I adore them. That is, I think that, just like so many things, being in multifamily, whatever, everybody's like, oh, what's the formula? What is the thing that I do to, doesn't matter. It only matters what's right for you. You got to figure out the thing that works for your path, and that's, I think, the answer to everything. Since we have Erin here, we're right at the top of the hour, but does anybody have a quick question they'd like to come off mute to ask of her? This is huge, you guys. You got to ask the one and only Erin Bradley your questions. Again, do you see why she's my spirit animal?
I am hopping off of mute for a second. Hi, Erin, Victoria here. I love this. What you just said is gold. Really, people figuring out how money impacts how they feel, and that tangible, intangible is that was a game changer for me. When I figured out that I am very much an intangible person, but I would love if you have any reflections on the experience you had figuring out that,
Yeah.
Was there a light bulb moment for you where you were like, oh.
Yeah. So when I started teaching this workshop to get to the simple one-page plan and the goals, in order to arrive at goals that I say are anchored in your heart versus your head, which power emotion and create movement and transformation, we do a bunch of reflection questions. And one of those reflection questions is, what are the 3 greatest happenings of the last year? And every single year, the 3 greatest happenings of the last year was the 2 weeks we went to Hawaii, or the 6-month RV road trip when we homeschooled the kids, although the homeschooling wasn't that fun, but you know, it was all these crazy experiences. And I recognize that if I look back and I'm honest with the greatest happenings of the last year, they are always experiential, and they're always things that the success of my business affords or doesn't afford me, right? So therefore, I'm motivated to be successful in the business to power the life. And for others for whom money is tangible, their natural response to the greatest happening the last year was like, I hit my volume goal of doing X, or I hit that income goal, or my net worth increased by 100 grand, or, you know, I bought that commercial property and I have another X in passive income. So when that is so exciting for you, then that's your truth, and there's no right or wrong, but it's important to know it, because I tried at one point having an income goal, and it was like, I love earning X. I love earning X. And it did nothing for me. It didn't awaken my reticular activating system. It was like asleep. And I was like, what the hell is happening? I thought these affirmations are supposed to wake me up. And it was nothing was happening. I changed it to a very specific why that had to do with bonusing my team. So I got really clear on what inspires me is to create a home in a chaotic industry for amazing people to thrive and build an awesome life. And that is so true for me that when I figured out what kind of volume goal would allow me to bonus my team above and beyond what they would expect, that got me so fired up that led all the action. Yeah. And that was the year that we did that, like 3, 6, 9, 12, whatever, 17. Yeah.
For me, I figured it out. Thank you for sharing that, because I feel like it's probably different for everybody. For me, I remember figuring it out when I would journal and I would write down 10 things every day, every single day, 10 goals, and, you know, work towards them. And I only kept hitting the ones that were experiential. And I figured out looking back over past journals, that I was like, I keep hitting only these certain types of goals. And so I had to work backwards to figure out, oh, it's because they were definitely experiential, not like all the, like you said, I would put down number of doors or number of cash flow or whatever, and it just nothing would happen.
But you know, what's so interesting, right, is that with this, like carving out the pause, taking the wheel of you, having boundaries in place to give yourself space to enjoy your life, to feel tuned in, to quiet down, all these different things, right? What I found is that all the things that are really scary, like I'm going to turn off my phone and focus on myself for a few hours so that I can figure out what's next. All the things I could never do, or so I thought. I could never, how could I ever kind of stuff, right? I started focusing on that, the life I want to live and the way I want to feel and the way I want to show up in the lives of the people that matter to me most. And I recognize that success to me is defined as unlimited present moments with people I care about, personally and professionally. And when I show up if I can manage me first, get access to the control switch of the light within, engage with people that light me up and make an effort to light them up, and have more fun in everything I do, all of a sudden, the money started coming as the byproduct. So the money has never been the objective. I embrace it, I welcome it and receive it, but I know that my abundance is only a byproduct of me managing me and then sharing my light with others as best as I possibly can. And I have so much fun doing that all of a sudden I'm seeing growth in different businesses and more opportunities showing up because I'm finding myself back at home in my center and self. And that's really the work that we do here. Like as a sales trainer, I tell people I'm not like a traditional sales trainer telling you how many boxes to check and how many calls to make, because you can make 100 phone calls. And if your light is off, you're not going to get anywhere. So we've got to work on this first.
Gosh, I adore everything about this. And it, you know, if things can be simpler because you're doing more of your zone of genius like that, I mean, it's incredible. You're an example that I aspire to be one day, Erin Bradley. Thank you for your time here. And thank you for this. And you guys definitely take her up on that huge offer. We're going to be posting this on YouTube, so share it around. So thank you, everyone. Erin, you're incredible. We'll see
you guys
very soon.
Good to see you guys. shoot me an email or find me online if you guys want to connect. I love hearing feedback and questions and happy to be a resource always. So
I will tag her in the recording on Aspiring Women. So make sure you look for her there if you didn't copy down her email.
Thank
Okay?
you, Mandy. You're the
Thank
best.
you guys, you are. Bye guys.
See you later.